Hello, this is Aries again, reading number 6. This is going to be a reading of chapter 2, and yeah, I'm excited to be here. Let's do this. I did a little whoopsie last time. I said, you know what, nobody even cares, but I said that the translations were by Asano Atsuko. Clearly, the novels are by Asano Atsuko. I can say their name. Easy. Um I don't actually know who the what the who did it, who the what who what where when who does the translations. Um I'm not really sure how this blog works, but I do link it in the description if you want to go see for yourself. So yeah, have some tea. It has been one day. I recorded chapter 1 yesterday. I love this book. I really do. It's great. It's oh boy. But yeah, let's get into chapter 2, shall we? Ooh. Okay, chapter 2. A Quiet Beginning. Index case. First discovered example. Male, age 31 years. Employee at biotechnology firm. Engineer. Already dead upon discovery. Confirmed address. The man sank into the bench in the forest park and sighed. He wondered how many times he had already sighed that morning. He sighed and looked at the head of lettuce in his hands. It made him sigh again. Crisp green leaves firmly wrapped in the head of lettuce. As far as quality went, it was first class. He tore off a leaf and brought it to his mouth. It had a delicate taste, and the texture was excellent. First class indeed. Then why wasn't it selling? The lettuce was the man's piece of work. He had long worked in the development of biotechnology to produce fresh produce, namely leafy vegetables. He believed that these safe, affordable, and delicious bio-vegetables were the solution to the rising food crisis and would soon become a mainstay in mainstay in food distribution. That tripped me up because I've never heard the word mainstay before. But you learn something every day anyway. He had the confidence it would, but market sales were not doing as well as he expected, and the man was losing hope. Buyers seemed to prefer produce trucked in from the fields of the southeastern blocks, rather than his biovegetables. The train was especially strong for leaf. No. The trend was expressed. It's a good day today. The trend was especially strong for leafy vegetables, like cabbage and lettuce. If this continued, his boss had told him, he would have to start thinking about discontinuing production. The base of his neck itched. It had been itching for a while now. The man was prone to getting rashes, and he was tired. By tonight, a red rash would probably have spread to his whole body. Too many unpleasant things were happening today. He sighed again. The lettuce in his hand felt heavy. A beeping sound rang from his breast pocket. The mobile telephone screen on his ID card lit up, and a young woman's face appeared. And I'm assuming that means they're missing an A, and a young woman's face appeared. Anyway. Greetings from the moon. Okay, I gotta read this. Municipal. Greetings from the Municipal Information System. This is to notify you of the results of the children's examination you have registered for. To confirm your account, please enter your citizenship number. Before the woman was even finished speaking, the man began to key in his number. Today was the day of his 2-year-old daughter's examinations. She was a bright and adorable little girl. He had never dared to say it out loud, but he secretly harbored an expectation that she might be acknowledged as a top ranker. Thank you. We have confirmed your fingerprint and registration number. Your information is as follows. His daughter's name was displayed, followed by a set of detailed numbers. Weight, height, bust measurements. Okay. Condition of health, condition of nutrition, development stage, ranking of various skills. All grades ranged in the average A to C. She was neither overly behind nor outstandingly brilliant. That was it. The man gazed at the screen for a moment and then put his card back into his pocket. He thought of his daughter's smile. Oh well. The man spoke to himself and grinned at the head of lettuce in his hand. Gifted or not, his daughter was still his daughter. He cherished and adored her, and that was good enough. Suddenly, an idea sparked in his head. Had he, perhaps, been too trapped in the idea of the best, most perfect? It was true, there was nothing to complain about this lettuce, but maybe its perfection was also the bane of it. If these identical perfect heads of lettuce were piled up row after row, consumers might not feel inclined to buy it. What if its perfection was actually scaring customers away? A cleaning robot was approaching. On its metallic body sat a round head and two arms extended to pick up trash and throw it inside the dust box located in the middle of its body. Yes, this lettuce was like that robot. It was clean and orderly, but too artificial. The vegetables and the consumers wanted more. Wanted what? Hello. The vegetables that the consumers wanted were more unique, more natural. The lettuce rolled out of his hand. The man quickly bent down to pick it up and furrowed his brow. Huh? His fingers stiffened, his vision blurred. It was hard to breathe. The robot picked the lettuce up and paused. A young male voice prompted him. May I dispose of this as trash? The man opened his mouth to speak and was overcome with a fit of coughing. Along with it, something white spilled out of his mouth. Teeth. His teeth were falling out. Are you sure? I will dispose of it now. The lettuce was thrown into the dust box, and the robot moved away. Wait. Help me. The man reached out and gave a cry of horror. The whole length of his extended arm was riddled with spots. His body grew heavy. The man staggered and collapsed on the ground between the bench and the hedges. Okay, spooky. Okay, spooky, scary. Shion, take a look at this. It was past 6 when Shion was called over by his co-worker, Yamase. Yamase. We're gonna get there. The two were the only people at the park administration office. Together they operated and maintained these 3 cleaning robots that patrolled the park. Labor robots such as these were still at the prototype stage, and even simple cleaning robots were prone to breaking down. Operating them was a hassle too, because they weren't good at distinguishing trash. After recording an object as trash in the computer's memory the first time around, it was supposed to recognize it automatically every time afterwards, but the robot sent back indistinguishable object errors all the time. There was one half an hour ago, in fact. The image sent back to him looked like a head of lettuce, and Shion had hesitated for a moment about what to do. He had encountered other things before that he wondered if he should call trash, like a baby chick that had fallen out of a tree, or a hat with a rather extravagant feathered decoration. Lettuce, though, was a first. Something the matter? He stood behind Yamase. He stood behind Yamase, who was sitting at the operation panel. Sampo's acting strange. Yamase liked to call the 3 robots by their nicknames. Sampo was robot number 3. Today, it was working in the corner, in the deeper recesses of the park. Sampo was also the same one that picked up the head of lettuce. The screen in front of them displayed a flashing red error notifying them of an indistinguishable object. What's the image like? Yeah, about that. It's not very clear, but it's strange. Strange? Yamase was 20, 4 years older than Shion, and quiet by nature, seldom ruffled by anything. The calm nature of his co-worker was one of the two reasons why Shion liked this workplace. The other reason was that because his job dealt mostly with machines, he didn't have to talk to people. Here, you take a look, Yamase said, switching the screen over to the camera. Can you focus in a little more? Sure, came the answer, and Yamase's hands moved swiftly over the control panel. The image became clearer. What? Shion leaned in closer, and his breath caught in his throat. Feet? A pair of trousered legs were protruding from behind the bench. He could see a pair of brownish shoes outfitting them. You think he's sleeping? Yamase's voice trembled. Any signs of life? Huh? Can you raise Sampo's sensors to max level? Sampo was outfitted with several receptors that could sense heat, sound, and texture. Yamase's voice shook more violently. Oxygen, heat emission, 0. No signs of life. I'll go check, Shion said abruptly. I'm coming too. They leapt on their bicycles and pedaled as hard as they could. Bicycles had become explosively popular in the last few years, and statistics showed that the average citizen owned 1.3 bicycles. Jogging shoes were also selling well. Rather than convenient and effortless modes of transportation, it seemed like more people were choosing to walk, pedal, and otherwise use their own bodies. Perhaps, popular or not, for a student like Shion, something this affordable that maneuvered easily and didn't cost anything to fuel was more of a necessity. There were speed limits even for bicycles within the park. Shion pedaled full throttle through a path he would usually only stroll down. Most vehicles, nowadays, were equipped with a restraint mechanism that automatically kicked in when the vehicle went over a certain speed. Bicycles were no exception, and the mechanism was usually built into the brake lever. But Shion's bicycle was an older model, and wasn't equipped with speed restraints. He would have to pay a fine if the Transportation Bureau found out, but right now, he was glad he could go as fast as he could. He reached a quiet area secluded by trees. Beneath a canopy of swishing leaves, Sampo was standing still. His head joint slightly tilted to the side, making him look either pensive or baffled. Sampo. In response to Shion's voice, its LED eyes lit up green. Shion peered behind the bench and froze. Shion, what's going on? Yamase arrived slightly later and made a muffled noise in his throat. The man lay beneath the tree. Why do I keep trying to say tree when it's a bench? God. The man lay behind the bench, as if to hide behind it. His mouth was open and his eyes wide and staring. His expression resembled surprise rather than fear or pain. He looked like he had seen something shocking moments before he died. His hair was snowy white, and on his cheeks there were spots that looked like senile plaque. His wrinkles were pronounced. He was quite aged. That's a pretty flashy shirt for his age, though, Shion remarked inwardly at the light pink shirt the man was wearing. Yamase, can you contact the security bureau? Huh? Oh yeah, of course. Sure, give me a minute. Hello? This is the park administration office. Half listening to Yamase's shaky voice as he explained the situation, Shion reached out cautiously to touch the man. Rigor Mortis had spread to his whole body. That's impossible, Shion muttered, almost automatically in disbelief. It was too soon. Rigor mortis usually began taking effect at least an hour after death, 2 or 3 hours in most cases. It started at the jaw and spread gradually downwards to end at the legs. Judging by that, this man would have been dead at least several hours. But 30 minutes ago, this body wasn't here. If it was, Sampo would have noticed it. He knew that there had been a living person sitting on the bench. After confirming the lettuce, Sampo's sensors had registered a living human presence. Of course, he had no evidence to prove that these two were the same person. No, there was no way it could be. There was no way a person who was alive 30 minutes ago could go through complete rigor mortis in this short time. Then, was someone else sitting on this bench, oblivious to the dead man? Impossible. Shion let go of the man's arm, which felt stiffer and colder than Sampo's mechanical one. It was impossible. Even if the man had lain dead without being noticed, Sampo would have picked him up. Indeed, Sampo had reacted to his presence and sent an indistinguishable object error just minutes ago. That meant that 30 minutes ago, there was no dead body here. Shion thought he saw the body move. Of course it was just his imagination, but Shion stifled a cry of horror. The jaw of the man, stiff only minutes ago, was starting to loosen. He thought he could even smell the faint odor of rot. The man was face down, and behind his ears, Shion could see a blackish-green stain begin to spread. It was definitely not there before. Certainly not visibly, I think that's supposed to be rearranged. Certainly not visible to the naked eye. Shion leaned in closer. They're coming, Yamase sighed in relief. A security bureau car was approaching soundlessly. So, in the space of 10-some-odd minutes, you saw complete rigor mortis, and it started rotting right afterwards? That's impossible, Safu concluded simply after she had swallowed her mouthful of chocolate donut. The fast food joint where they sat, located near the older parts of town, was bustling with people of every shade of color. And if you're saying you smelled rot, then that means decomposition by bacteria had already started, right? That can't be. Even in the middle of summer, it would take at least 30 hours, right? For rigor mortis to dissipate completely. Under a fixed set of conditions, it would take 36 hours in the summertime. Oh, this is Shion speaking, my bad. Under a fixed set of conditions, it would take 36 hours in the summertime, 3 to 7 days in the winter, and 60 hours in the weather we're having now. That's what the textbooks say, Shion replied, dropping his gaze from Safu's face and taking a sip from his cup of tea. He felt melancholic and tired. Did the security bureau give you a hard time? Safu peered into his face. Her short cropped hair framed her delicate face and large eyes, which gave her a mysterious, androgynous sort of allure. Safu was also among the top-ranking in intelligence during her examinations for 2-year-olds. She was one of the several classmates he studied with at the same school until the age of 10, and presently, at age 16, she was the only one whom Shion shared a close relationship with. She specialized in physiology, and was set to go on exchange soon to another city. It was an unnatural death, after all. They must have been suspicious. They probably interrogated the heck out of you because of that, didn't they? Safu, as Shion knew her in the classroom, was a small, quiet girl. She was probably still the same in the lab, but when she was alone with Shion, Safu smiled often, ate well, and relaxed her formal tone. Shion drained his tea and slowly shook his head. Nah, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Truth be told, the security bureau's interrogation was surprisingly short. All they did was seize the data that Sampo had recorded of the body and demanded an explanation of the situation from each of the two. The official spoke sharply when he found out that Shion's registered address was located in the Old Town district, close to the West Block, but Shion was used to that kind of treatment and thought nothing of it. Then why do you look so down about it? You're the picture of the troubled young You're the picture of the troubled young man right now. Sorry, not that. I'm getting this dialogue so great. It just doesn't seem right. The rigor mortis and its dissipation time? Right. You said so yourself, Safu. It's not possible. You're right. There was no condition present that could have accelerated the rigor mortis and dissipation to that extent. You mean no condition in terms of temperature or humidity or some other external influence, right? You won't know until you perform an autopsy if there might be an internal cause that accelerated it. Internal cause, huh? Like what? For example, if that person was severely debilitated, he wouldn't have stiffened up as much and it wouldn't have lasted as long. In people with phosphorus poisoning or in infants, they say it's almost non existent. He was definitely not an infant, I can tell you that. Safu sniffed indignantly and glared at Shion. It was just an example. You're as sarcastic as ever, aren't you? That hadn't changed at all. But I guess there's not much we can make of it if we don't have any data. Yeah, Shion nodded vaguely, and unconsciously bit his lower lip. Data, textbooks, manuals. There were times when they became completely useless. What he once believed to be so certain and absolute would be overturned ever so easily and crumble before him. He experienced that 4 years ago. Oh shit. Oh shit, that's the end of part A. On to part B, I guess. Oh my god. Okay, part B. Shion. Safu put her elbows on the table and folded her hands over each other. Great start. She placed her chin on them and gazed at Shion. I want to ask you something. What? 4 years ago, why didn't you enroll into the gifted curriculum? It was as if her question saw right through him. Shion broke off a piece of the blandly sweet apple pie with his hands. The filling oozed out onto the plate. Why are you asking now? Because I want to know. Even from an objective point of view, you were a stellar student. You absorbed information well and knew how to apply it. All the teachers had high expectations for you. You're giving me too much credit. It's the truth. The numbers prove it. Do you want me to show you your skill test results again from 4 years ago? Safu. He had a bitter taste in his mouth. It felt like he was welling up from the very core of his body. What's the point of asking me this now? 4 years ago, they decided I wasn't qualified for the gifted curriculum, so I lost all special privileges. I didn't choose not to enroll. I couldn't. Now I work for park administration to pay for my tuition, and I'm taking trade courses from the Labor Bureau, but my attendance hasn't been good, so I'm not even sure if I can graduate. That's reality. That's the truth you're talking about, Safu. And why did you lose your privilege? I don't want to talk about it. But I'd love for you to tell me. She's silly. She's a little silly. Shion finished licking the pie crust from his fingers and closed his mouth firmly. He didn't want to talk about it, or rather, he couldn't think of any explanation that would make Safu understand. The reason was simple. He had taken a VC under his wing for the night and let him escape. The Security Bureau had found that out. They had thought it suspicious that his mother Karen had left the security alarm off, and Shion had left the foreign object detection system off in his own room. The security systems of each house were connected to the Central Administration Bureau's computer system and could be easily tracked. Not 1 hour had passed after Nezumi had disappeared when officials from the Security Bureau were knocking on his door. It was the start of their long and persistent interrogation. You knew that he was a VC then? Yes. Why didn't you call the police immediately? Well... Answer my question. You don't need to rush. Just give us a clear and accurate answer. It was because he looked about the same age as me, and he was seriously injured, so I felt sorry for him. So you sympathized with this VC, didn't contact the police, but instead treated his wounds and helped him escape. It ended up as so, yes. The Security Bureau's investigation and interrogations official was named Rashi. Oh my god, I'm getting flashbacks. He spoke gently throughout the whole meeting, never once raising his voice or his fist in violence. When their grueling 2-day investigation was over and Xian was released, he even gave him a friendly clap on the shoulder and said, "It's been hard, I know. Thanks." But Rashi's eyes never smiled once, and Xian had noticed. Even now, 4 years later, those unsmiling eyes came into his dreams, their gaze boring into him. He would awake in the morning, shaken and soaked with sweat. He concealed a criminal and aided his escape. Xian wasn't sentenced for this crime, but he was deemed severely deficient in appropriate judgment skill and ability to take action, and as a result, all his special privileges were removed. Ooh. Wow. Wow, this is not triggering me. Not in the slightest. Okay. When the hurricane passed, Xian and Karan were cast out onto the streets, under the blindingly blue sky. They had no place to live, nor any means to make a living. Xian's gifted curriculum in ecology had become something more far away and unreachable than the clouds that floated in the sky above them. A certainty, a definiteness he had in his hands only yesterday, only moments before, had vanished. They had scattered in the winds, more frail than the leaves he had watched whip around in the storm. It was a sense of loss he was feeling for the first time in his life. No.6 had no welfare system, no shit. Why would it? There was only a hierarchical insurance system based on the level of contribution that a select few of the citizens had to offer to the city. Xian and Karan, far from contributing from the city, were treated as people who have failed to serve their responsibility as citizens. They were at the lowest possible rank. That meant, apart from being allowed to remain in the city, they were excluded from any aid or insurance. Petri dish elite. Nezumi had used that term that night, and it was true. He realized the weight of it after he had been thrown out of his enclosed and sheltered container. No.6 was none other than a caste society. The vertical dynamic of the population was neatly ordered into a pyramid structure. Once you tumbled off the top tiers, it wasn't easy to crawl back up. "Look at you, so serious," Safu laughed. "I get it. If it's hard to explain, then I won't ask." "Sorry." Xian held up a hand and ducked his head in apology. He was relieved that she didn't question him further. The events were easy enough to explain. He did want to tell Safu, for her to know about the dramatic events that had turned his life upside down. But what Xian couldn't grasp, couldn't seem to find the words to explain, were his own feelings. He even surprised himself with what little regret he felt. He did feel shock at the fragility of his position, and he did more than once find himself curled up, unable to grapple with his sense of loss. But now, after 4 years of living through it all, he pondered. What would he do if he could turn back time to that day, on his 12th birthday? Would he have called the police? Would he have set his security alarm off? The answer was always no. Even if he had the chance to return that night, he would have done the same thing. He would have taken in the wind and rain and the intruder that came with it. He felt it with certainty, and his certainty put him at ease. It wasn't like he found his life now more satisfying than before. He still had deep attachments to ecology, his state-of-the-art learning environment, his comfortable life, and shamefully enough, even the accolades, the words of praise and encouragement and gaze of admiration that he was the center of. But even so, he would have done the same thing. If accepting Nezumi meant his own destruction, then, to destruction, he would have trodden again and again. He had no regrets about what he did, but he couldn't explain why. Since that night, other hurricanes came and went. Listening to the excited murmurings of the leaves in the wind, Shion felt not regret, but a sense of longing. It was a yearning to see him again. Shion didn't have the confidence that he could explain it to Safu well enough. He had no other option but to remain silent. Shall we go then, Shion? Safu stood up. The restaurant had become even more crowded, and now they could barely hear each other's voices. I'll walk you to the station, Shion offered. Of course. You would have to be really tactless if you let a girl go home by herself, wouldn't you? Oh, come on, retorted Shion. We both know how strong you are, even though you might look small and skinny. And you're speedy. I always thought you were more fit for martial arts than physiology, actually. You know what? You're right. I've been told off once about how emotional. Nope, I think that's a typo. I've been told off once about how emotional I can get all of a sudden, when I'm usually so quiet. Maybe I'm not meant for lab work after all. I'm sorry, what? Reader's note, I'm sorry, what? What is she going on about? What is this? Is this misogyny in my BL light novel? What? Let me just read more and watch this cancel out. Nope, they didn't cancel out. Okay, great. Oh, actually, I think I'm just tone deaf. I think she's actually being sarcastic. I think she's just being sarcastic. Okay, continue. They walked side by side down the road to the station. Excluding a few restaurants, late night business was banned in the city. What? Of course they would be. Ugh. In a matter of hours, the throngs of people walking up and down the streets now would disappear. Shion gave Safu's back a light push. Her last words had sounded somewhat dejected to his ears. Is that supposed to be... No, who was saying this? Oh, okay. Never mind. Is that supposed to be the voice of someone who's passed the exams and is about to go on exchange? Safu's face... Nope. Safu raised her voice. Nope. God. Safu raised her face and grinned. Jealous, aren't you? Yeah. That's awfully truthful of you. Be true to yourself. Be kind to others. It's been my motto these days. Liar. Huh? You're not jealous at all. Shion stopped. Safu was staring at him challengingly. Just as he was about to call her name, he was suddenly grabbed by the shoulder from behind. Excuse me. Shion turned around. A man was standing there, smiling. He was about a head shorter than Shion, and was wearing a security bureau uniform. It was navy blue from the top to bottom, and made of a special material called superfiber, which had impressive qualities for its unremarkable appearance. With durability that was tenfold that of steel, it served the purpose of a bulletproof vest well enough. At the same time, it let air pass through easily, so the garment could breathe. There was an increasing number of these uniformed law enforcement officers from the security bureau, the closer they neared to the West Block. Shion calmly brushed the man's hand off his shoulder and spoke. Can I help you? Well, I just want to ask you a couple questions. How old are you? 16. The both of you? Yes. You do know that those under 18 are prohibited from being outdoors after 9. Yes, but it's still before 8. Shion. Safu whispered sharply. She was telling him not to argue, but the security bureau uniform standing before him brought back to memory the eyes of the interrogation. Brought back to memory the eyes of that interrogation officer who called himself Rashi. Instead of feeling intimidated, Shion was compelled to retaliate. Your ID cards, the two of you, please. Perhaps he had taken notice of Shion's rebellious attitude. The man wiped the smile clean off his face and demanded for the identification cards expressionlessly. Safu passed her silver card to him. Shion silently did the same. Your citizenship numbers in order. SSC 0000124GJ. QW 55142. The man pulled the card out of his portable card reader and turned to give Safu a slight bow. A gifted curriculum student like yourself shouldn't be roaming these areas at such a late hour. I advise you to go home. I was on my way. I was walking to the station. Let me walk you there. No, thank you. He's going to. Safu clung to Shion's arm. I'll take her, said Shion shortly. That's where we were headed in the first place. Let's go, Safu. Snatching the cards from the officer's grasp, Shion grabbed Safu's hand and strode swiftly away. When he turned around some moments later, the man had already disappeared into the bustling crowd. Fucking bitch-ass. Get out of here. Identification card. We are supposed to be here. Literally not even know. Oh, this bitch. This bitch. Ah! I hate that guy. I hate that bitch. Okay. Okay, we're fine. Moving on. You scared me. Safu clutched her chest. I've never been scolded by... that scared me. Sorry, she said. That scared me. I've never been scolded by the security bureau. It happens all the time, replied Shion. If you didn't have your gifted curriculum ID, he would have grilled us even more. Really? Really, said Shion grimly. Like the train that you're about to get on. With that ID card, you can bypass the general car and ride in special class. That's the kind of city we live in. Everyone's sorted out into categories based on skill, wealth, and all these other factors. Don't talk about it like that, Safu protested. You don't sort people like you sort garbage and merchandise. People are people. They're humans. Fritters, no, shit. No shit. And yet you can't see right through your... Okay, it's fine, Safu. You're gonna wake up someday. Safu, in this city, it doesn't matter whether we're people or not. It matters how useful you are to the city. That's it. Shion. Back there you called me a liar. I'm not. Of course I'm jealous. You've got all your privileges, and you're allowed to study and experiment to your heart's content. I'm envious, Safu. I resent you, even. You have everything that I don't have. Shion paused and let out a long breath. He had gone too far. It was shameful. Low, embarrassing, pathetic. He clicked his tongue at himself in frustration. Safu sighed as well. You're still a liar. Huh? Did you not hear me? You're still a liar. I can add a big on top of that if you like. You're only pretending to be envious of me. Or do you not even realize that you're lying? What a dense boy I've got on my hands. Safu, what? Shion began in exasperation. If you were really envious and resentful, you wouldn't be able to stand going out to eat with me. But you're laughing, eating, making conversation, and cracking jokes like it's nothing. Hey, I have some pride too. Obviously, I'm not going to be openly jealous. Shion, said Safu firmly, my specialization is in cognitive functions, brain activity, and their relationship with hormones. I know. Good, because if you don't, I would have been mad. I haven't told you this over and over for nothing. Anyway, she continued briskly, say you are hiding your resentment and pretending to be enjoying your time with me. It would be stressful, right? I guess so, Shion replied dubiously. It would be stressful, and when you feel stress, your adrenaline glands release steroid hormones that's called... I didn't know there was a form. Corticosteroids. I'm assuming that's like cortisol. Corticosteroids that influence your brain, and what it does to brain activity is... Okay, Safu, I get it. Shion interrupted. That's enough. Save your lecture for next time and I'll listen carefully. Listen to me. You're not feeling any stress. You're not resentful of me at all. Xion, what is it that you want to do? Huh? If you want to continue your studies, you can be resentful of me, but you're not. You said I have everything you don't have. Then what is it that you have? You can't say you have nothing, she added hastily. People who have nothing, no, people who think they've got nothing left can't smile like you do, or talk like you do. For your emotions not to have any influence on your actions, to have that level of perfect control, it takes special training. You're not getting any special training. I don't think you're an overly emotional person, but I also don't think you have the ability to control 100% of your emotions either. The only reason you can have a regular conversation with me and laugh around me is because you have a certain level of emotional security. Safu, what you just said is all armchair theory. Humans have complex emotions. They're not like lab rats. I don't think you can explain how emotions influence people's actions that easily. It's arrogant to believe that science can explain everything about human nature. Safu shrugged. They were approaching the station. I didn't know you wanted me to become... What? I didn't know you... What? Hello? Repeating that. I didn't know you wanted to become a writer. Safu, Xion said wearily. Then I'll say this in a literary context. Emotional security. So, what? So I'm talking about hope or dreams. You have those. That's why you don't feel the need to resent me. Xion, what is it that you hope for? And that's the end of part B. Wow. Yeah, wow, okay. Oh boy. I think I know what happens in this. It's very vague, but I do know what happens in this. In the next part, I think. Okay, it was really abrupt, but... Alright. Shall we continue? Hope. He repeated the word silently. It was a word he hadn't used for years. It was neither sweet nor bitter, but it slowly warmed him from deep inside his body. Hope. What do I hope for? His promised future had collapsed. What was left to him now were his mother, his meager wages from his job, and his own 16-year-old body. What hope resided in those? He wasn't sure. But he was sure that he hadn't completely lost hope either. They entered the station. The old town district where Xion lived was located adjacent to the West Block and the city border, and functioned as a sort of buffer zone between the city center and the West Block. It was called Lost Town, a far cry from the tranquility of the city center. It was a squalid place, dense with people. The station they were in was also very crowded. The faint smell of a deep fried... Oh my god, there's too many things on my brain right now. Sorry, I'm thinking about what to make for food while I'm trying to read it. It won't. Okay. The faint smell of deep fried food and alcohol wafted in the air. Deep fried food. Okay, no, we're good. I'm fine from here. Safu stopped. There was a black-winged insect on her shoulder. Brushing it away, Xion asked a nonchalant question. A black-winged insect. Is that a, what is it called? What is it called when they do it before, when they hint at something before and then it comes up later? I completely forgot the word for it. Oh, I forgot it. Okay, that's fine. Be careful. Oh, when are you off for your exchange again? In 2 days. 2 days? Xion exclaimed. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I didn't want to. Would you have thrown me a farewell party if I did? Safu jutted her chin out defiantly. Xion, I want to ask you something. Huh? Is this where people usually drop this? Is this where people usually drop this? Okay, we're just gonna get through this. We're just gonna get through this normally. Like, we're normal and this is all normal. Okay? This is all normal. It's scientific. It's for science, okay? Sure, if I can manage to get it to you in time. I can't say it. Oh, that's nasty. Okay, it's scientific. It's scientific. Your sperm. Sorry, I can't do this. I can't. I hate that word. That's disgusting. Safu looked Xion in the eyes as she said those words. She didn't blink. Xion gaped at her open mouth. You and me both, buddy. Did you hear me? I want your sperm. Get out of my... You know what she said. Okay. What? Safu, out of all the people I know, you would probably be the most superior sperm donor. Your sperm and my ovum. Ovum, I haven't heard that word in a while. Don't you think it would produce the most perfect child? I want it, Xion. Okay, we're just gonna skip over that. Artificial insemination needs permission from the city, Xion answered cautiously. Getting permission would be easy. The city encourages artificial insemination between people who possess excellent DNA and superior skills. Xion swallowed and turned away. The winged insect crossed his line of vision, buzzing incessantly. Irritation welled up inside him. Safu, I don't know if I told you this, but I've never known my father. I don't know his personality, his stature, or if he had any illnesses. I know, but parents don't matter. 99% of human genome has been decoded already. I can find out anything I need to know about your genetic information. And then, if you do get the information and there's something in there that you don't want, what are you gonna do? Well, Safu, what are you trying to get at? Do you think a human being is entirely what his DNA base what? Do you think a human being is entirely what his DNA base sequence tells us he is? Surely you can look up my DNA, analyze my genes, and what's that going to tell you about me? You talk about having kids like it's easy, but I know a lot more about you than you think. Safu's voice cut him off shrilly. People turned their heads as they passed. We've been together since we were 2. I know what kind of person you are, what you like to do. I know, and I'm still telling you this. You're the one who doesn't know anything. What? Safu mumbled something, but he couldn't catch it. He bent toward her slightly, so he could hear better. They are 16. They are 16. Girl, you gotta wait 2 years, at least. I want to have sex with you. Her words rang clear in Xion's ears. Safu, I don't want your sperm. I don't want artificial insemination. I don't care about having kids or not. I want to have sex with you. That's it. Wait a minute. Safu, right now. Girl! Xion inhaled. The greasy scent of fried food wafted into his nostrils. The clock chimed 8 o'clock. Not now. Why not? Because you're not interested in me? Or not interested in sex? I'm interested in both, but I don't want to do it, not now, with you. So it's because of me? No, my body would probably respond no problem, but even now But that's not why I don't want to. I don't want to sleep with you on a spur of the moment. You know, that's like you're saying you've never seen me in that way before. Yeah, I've always thought of you as a friend. I can't believe it. Safu sighed in exasperation. Why are you such a kid? Whatever, I'm going home. Safu, in 2 years. Your exchange is for 2 years, right? When you come back, I'll ask this time. If I want to have sex? Yeah. You're a bona fide idiot if I ever saw one. I don't know I don't know how you could have come this far being that laid back. Stay safe. Don't work too hard. Oh, you can count on me working hard. I'll work hard. I'll work hard. It'll keep all the boys away. With a casual wave of her hand in farewell, Safu turned around and gave a small shriek. A small gray animal darted past Safu's feet and scurried up Shion's body. A mouse! A small mouse about the size of Shion's pinky. Pinky? That's tiny. That's a tiny mouse. I mean, I guess it's a small mouse, okay? Sat on his shoulder, twitching his nose. I'm surprised to see mice in this city, but it is kind of cute, Safu mused. Pretty friendly, too. The mouse brought its face closer to Shion's ear. Still an... What the fuck? Hang on. It Still a natural, it whispered. The mouse? The mouse. Okay. He felt an electric shock run through him. He grabbed at the mouse, but it slipped through his fingers, bound off his shoulder, and shot toward the station exit. True, this was an older district, but Lost Town was still within city limits, and mice were rare. The Health and Hygiene Bureau saw to the complete removal of all pests, animal, or insects. There was a buzzing insect earlier, but okay. People weren't used to seeing the mouse that sped past their feet. Shrieks of surprise and bursts of anxious buzzing rose from the crowd. And at the very end of it, Shion saw a pair of gray eyes. It was for a fleeting instant. A jolt pierced through his body. Nezumi! Shion, what's wrong? Safu, can you make it home by yourself? You can make it home by yourself, right? What? Of course I can. I was just about to, wasn't I? What's wrong? Why are you so agitated? Sorry. After they parted here, he wouldn't see Safu again for 2 years. He knew he had to give her a proper sending off. At the very least, watching her retreating back until it disappeared into the jostling crowd. Whether they were going to have sex or not didn't change the fact that Safu was important to him. He knew well that this was not nearly a proper farewell that she deserved. He knew, but what he thought he knew so well was swept away instantly. His body moved on its own, defying his rational thought. Yes, he had experienced this 4 years ago, even though he knew reason always had the right answer. Turn the security system on. Notify the security bureau. Remove the foreign presence. He had defied all of it. It was the same now. He was letting his emotions control his actions. It had begun raining outside, raindrops pelting his cheek. In the crowd of people briskly walking to and fro, not a familiar face was to be seen. Shion, Karen greeted her son at the door, and widened her eyes. You're soaked through. What were you doing? Walking. In this rain? From where? The station. And why on earth did you let yourself get this wet? I was cooling off. Cooling off, Laid back as always, aren't you? Safu had used the same words only a moment before. Shion chuckled to himself and began toweling off his hair. It had suddenly grown very cold since it started raining. The old kerosene fan heater was humming to keep the room warm. I'm debating on how to pronounce her name. Karan? Kerang? Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Karan yawned. It was already time for her to sleep. Tucked away in the corner of Lost Town, Karan ran a modest bakery. It was small, with only one showcase, but people seemed to be drawn to the aroma of freshly baked bread that wafted from the doors early each morning, and business was booming. She opened early, and so slept early too. It was rounding 9 o'clock, which for Karen, was like midnight. I'm thinking of increasing the batch of butter rolls tomorrow, and maybe a little adventurous, and maybe be a little adventurous and try selling some simple cakes on top of the muffins that we sell. What do you think? Like cherry cake? That's the one. A little something that people can buy as a snack, but a little more higher end than bread or muffins. A small souvenir for a special day or something like that. That sounds great, Shion enthused. Don't you think so? And I think having cakes in the display case would liven things up a little. Shion nodded and began to leave the living room in this house. They didn't have the luxury of private bedrooms. Karan slept in the corner of the living room, and Shion in the storage cellar. Shion, his mother called. He turned around. Did something happen? Huh? Did something happen that you would... Oh, wait. Oh, she's saying this. Okay, she's saying, did something happen? Huh? Did something happen that would make you need to cool off? Karan continued without waiting for Shion's answer. When you came home, you seemed a little dazed, and you didn't even seem to realize you were wet. And even now, you look absent-minded, but then again, a little agitated. It's a strange face you've got on. Do you want me to bring a mirror? Shion exhaled shortly. Someone died in the park today. What? In the forest park? There was nothing on the news about that. Nothing on the news? Did that mean that the man died of natural causes? Although sudden, maybe it was explainable. Not enough to make the news. Just a normal death. Shion shook his head. Of course not. The time it took for the body to become rigid, the expression on his face, the green stain, it was all too abnormal. To the security bureau, he had only explained what he found at the scene. He pretended that he hadn't noticed the rigor mortis or the stain. He felt like he had to. He didn't know why, but a voice inside him had told him to play dumb, to lie. Just as a small animal might sense danger to hide itself, his instinct had warned him. Instinct. There it was again. He was acting not on reason, but on whim. He was turning away from logic and sense only too easily to succumb to instinctive emotion. Shion sighed deeply. It was a little hard to breathe. And that's why you're agitated? Well, yeah. I've never seen a dead body before. I'm lying, Mom. I saw those eyes again today. I saw Nezumi. I have a feeling that something's going to happen. That's why. Karan smiled and wished him a good night. It was a gentle smile. He wished her good night in answer and left the living room. Karan's stature was still plump, but she looked much younger than before. It seemed like she hadn't taken the move from Kronos to Lost Town too harshly. She often smiled as she talked about how enjoyable it was to bake bread and how uplifting it was when people brought them. It wasn't just out of kindness or a desire to reassure her son. Karan wasn't despairing. Okay. Karan wasn't despairing at all about their life here. In Kronos, everything was given to them, but their life in Lost Town was something Karan had built up with her own hands. That was why Shion didn't want to destroy it. He didn't want to uproot her entire life as he did 4 years ago. He didn't want to get her involved in trouble again. Shion collapsed into bed. He felt a faint chill, and there was a dull pain at the back of his head. When he closed his eyes, a flurry of images rushed past his eyelids. The greenish stain, the abandoned lettuce, the pink shirt, Safu's face. I want to have sex. The mouse that had scurried up his body, still unnatural. The core of his body grew hot. His heartbeat quickened. It was no dream. It wasn't an illusion. Nezumi did exist there. In the crowd of people at the station. That was some flashy appearance you made back there. Jerk, he muttered under his breath. What was he supposed to expect from that short appearance? What was Nezumi planning to do? Shion sat up in bed. Sappho sighed. Were the body in the park and Nezumi somehow... Oh, okay. Sorry. Sappho aside, were the body in the park and Nezumi somehow connected? On the same night that he discovered the body, Nezumi appeared. Was that a coincidence? If they were related, how were they? A chime interrupted his thoughts. The mobile telephone on his ID card was ringing. It couldn't be. He knew it couldn't be Nezumi, but his heart raced. His fingers trembled as he grasped the card. White letters flashed on the display. Safu. He tapped the talk button and He tapped the talk button, and the screen switched to Safu's face. Shion, were you asleep? No. He had forgotten. He should be the one calling her back, and to finish saying the farewell that he had left hanging. Safu, I'm sorry about back there. That person was important to you, huh? Huh? Safu's face had broken into a wry smile. It was both serene and beautiful. I've never seen you look like that before. Do you know what kind of expression you had on? Huh? Wait, did I look that bad? It was very interesting indeed. It kept me entertained the whole time. First it was astonishment, and then, well, let's see, what could you call it? Joy? Raptness, maybe? Even to wipe everything else out of your mind, and then you beelined out of the station, leaving me behind all by myself. Sad story, huh? I know. I'm so sorry. I can't apologize enough. I'll say. You're welcome. At least I got to see a new side of you. I've never seen you with that face before. So, Shion, who is it that makes you look like that? Was she that important to make you drop everything and chase after her? Sorry, she is underlined. I don't know why. I can't like... I'm pretty sure... Okay, anyway. I can't check it on mobile. Yeah. He even surprised himself at this prompt affirmation. You know what I think it is? I think it's just like a gender neutral term, and it's like they're... Anyway. It's not actually she, but whatever. That's my theory. Go and look at the note if you want to know for sure. I don't know. He even surprised himself at his prompt affirmation. Safu, don't get me wrong. It's not a girlfriend or anything like that. I can't really explain it well, but... Also my first time seeing you stumble over yourself trying to explain things. That's alright if you have a girlfriend. I don't mind if you've already got someone on your mind. No, that's a lie. Look at me. I always try to put up a strong face in any situation. It's a bad habit of mine. That's not true, Shion retorted. You're always truthful to yourself. Only in front of you. Didn't you realize? Safu continued. Her expression grew serious. Safu, really, take care of yourself. When we meet in 2 years. I love you, Shion. More than anyone else. The line died without waiting for an answer. He could hear the pitter-patter of rain. He thought he saw something move in the corner of the room. Nezumi? Amidst the bags of flour and sugar piled in the storage room, only the sound of rain echoed. Shion hugged his knees and sat silently in the darkness, lending an ear to its continuous drizzle. The rain showed no signs of either worsening or letting up, and continued through the rest of the night. End of chapter 2. End of chapter 2. Oh man. That was a time, I think. That was quite a time. I would like to say that I I don't like reading about teenagers talking about having sex. I don't like that. But you know what? Teenagers are teenagers. Just because I didn't when I was a teenager doesn't mean others did. Anyway, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed that, I suppose, as much as you could. Oh, that was hard to get through, to say the least. But, I'll see you in the next chapter. Okay? Bye-bye.